And finally, after years of going back and forth with me and Ferry for starting interviews with others, finally today is the first episode where we're going to be interviewing Harsh Tripathi. And let's begin the journey of interviewing people. So I am Meher
Awesome.
Bala. I am a business owner. I own a hosting company called Happy Host. I'm a web developer. Uh, Besides that, I'm a foodie and I'm trying to grow my Insta account called Banda Foodie. Now I'm passing over the mic to Ferry to introduce herself. Go ahead,
Okay.
Ferry.
Hi, thank you for yes. So thank you. My name is Ferry Dharawat and I'm a writer basically. And I've written for more than like 7+ years. And I think writing is all I do. And I worked in publishing industry, edtech industry, and digital marketing agencies and all. So yeah, I mean, I like to draw, and yeah, that's just me. I've been spending a lot of time on LinkedIn, and I thought, let me start posting more stuff. So around 2 months, I kept on posting. I was active. That's why I was also adding a lot of people, and that's how I met Harsh Tripathi. And I saw his post. Every alternate post used to go trending. I'm like, what are you doing? Because I was doing the same thing. Like, what are you doing? Trending. So LinkedIn algorithm decides that this post is good, which is a very good thing, and there must be some kind of recipe. And I thought, how about we try to have an interview where we focus on that, how to actually reach more people and get more engagement. So passing the mic to Harsh Tripathi. Yes, tell us something about it.
Thanks a lot, Ferry, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And my name is Harsh Tripathi. And as most people know, 5 years back, I turned my career 360 degrees to become a full-time writer. So my first job was mostly managing servers and doing all the creepy tech stuff that I no longer wish to do my entire life. And the entire journey has been a really good roller coaster ride for me. And so far, I have worked with digital marketing agencies, and I've only worked full time with SaaS-based firms throughout my career. And recently, I got published on Your Story and Chai Global as well. And
Yeah.
even though I have only 5.5 years of experience, but I just got active on LinkedIn 2 months back, and within 2 months, my posts have reached around 3 lakh people, and I think that's a personal accomplishment for me. So far, so good. So yes, I'm looking forward to this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's excellent. We talk about numbers all the time, how much reach,
Yeah.
what engagement, which in a way takes away from the soul of the writing, because writers are supposed to be very poetic, more flourishing, using of adjectives and all that, and all of a sudden you bring these kind of engagement hona chahiye, and you should numbers speak and all that, and how to actually leverage your work on platforms. And every platform has different requirements. Like the same thing won't work for a Facebook group. So it's very interesting that on LinkedIn, how many hashtags you're supposed to use. Same number of hashtag won't be used for Instagram, because I read
Yes.
recently that on Instagram you're supposed to use less hashtag. I'm like, all right, very interesting. So it's nice. It's nice. So do you have some insights on how to, we can start by talking about hashtags. Like, how do you decide perfect hashtag, because they are very important to get more engagement on LinkedIn.
Okay. So the hashtags depend on the topics that you choose to write. For instance, I write mostly about writing, blogging, and creative writing, and sometimes on mental health and motivation. So the hashtags are
Yes.
pretty much very much specific. So it's a no-brainer. So the only key is what most people do when they start on LinkedIn. They just stuff hashtags into the main body, and that hampers readability like hell. So what they should do, they should just focus more on readability and just push the hashtags to the bottom and keep them to a minimum. The key is because most of the hashtags are being picked by LinkedIn editors. So if your post is actually adding value to someone's life, so even though you are using only one hashtag or two hashtags, you are bound to trend. You don't have to use 100 hashtags. That's what I have seen from my two months of experiments. So in my recent post, I'm only using 3 or 4 hashtags, and still I don't find any difficulty in trending. That's because I just make a point to write from my personal experiences first. And even if I'm sharing something generic advice, including quotes of Maya Angelou or some other person, I add my own spin to it. So LinkedIn loves genuine insights. It loves when people speak from experience. So if you are just regurgitating information, then I think the chances are very lean that you are going to trend or add any kind of value to some person's life.
I have a question over here.
Yeah.
Usually, what I've heard when you put hashtags, I'm not talking specifically for LinkedIn. I'm talking for other social platforms as well. So people say when you put hashtags, you should put which have less audience and more audience. So you get a mix. So how much is it through?
So it all depends upon the target group you are choosing. If it's LinkedIn, so it all depends on the target group you are choosing. So for my target audience is fellow writers and mostly entrepreneurs and business owners and someone who is looking for mental health advice and motivation. So if you see, you can see that motivation has around like 8 lakh followers and writing has around 53,000 followers. So yeah, this thing is right that we should choose a mix of hashtags, but we should make sure that, okay, per post, we should limit the number. Just make it 4 or 5 or even 2 or 3 would work, the most relevant hashtags. So if a hashtag is only 10 followers or 12 followers, so just skip it. It will only, eat up the post length and it will not add any value. So pick a median number. So if a hashtag has more than 20,000 followers, 30,000 followers, then feel free to keep it. And if it has only some 100 followers or 200, just skip it. That's the key.
So you really do a lot of research in seeing how many people are following that hashtag. So that's
Yes.
a very important. All right.
So I'm experimenting, because what people do when I started on LinkedIn. So I read a lot of advice on the internet that this should be the posting time and these many hashtags you should be doing. So what I believe is there is no absolute advice in the entire world, not in LinkedIn, not in life. So we should be able to follow our own heart and we should be willing to experiment. So what I used to do in the beginning, that I would just post once a day and see, okay, how is my engagement shaping up? But nowadays I am just trying to experiment, mix and match. So sometimes I post at 2 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes I post at 5:30 in the morning, depending on how my creative juices are flowing. And that has also worked in my favor. So yesterday I put a post around 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and people say the reach will go down if you post that early in the morning. But much to my surprise, by the time I woke up 3 hours later, it clocked 2,000 views. So when people are posting at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, even they struggle with that kind of engagement. So consistency is the key. So we should be posting more relevant content on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn prefers to know you as a person, who you are as a person. So if I am continuously putting on content on writing or just mental health, so the reach will definitely go down, because LinkedIn wants to know how you are as a person. It's kind of a personality assessment tool. So the more topics you cover, people are going to know more about you, that okay, Fairy is this kind of a person, she cares about these topics, she's trying to build a personal brand about these topics, and then you get the relevant engagement.
That's very interesting, diversifying topics and then writing. Now that I didn't think about it. That's really nice. Another bit I wanted to ask you was the format. I think format is very important, because format makes information consumable, because it makes it easy to read, and again it improves the readability of your article or your post. So there's always space. So is it thoughtful that you want to keep space? Because I tend to not do it, because personally I don't like it. I like chunky paragraphs, but mostly on LinkedIn, including you, and you are trending, that's why the right person to ask. Is there any specific reason for any space while you write after each sentence?
So there is a theory behind it. So when you are writing on LinkedIn, if you are writing long paragraphs, so long paragraphs sometimes hamper readability. Okay, so even if you are not just writing one sentence per line, you should just keep it to 2 or 2.5 sentences per line, not more than that. So even if you are not just doing one sentence per line, Just keep it 2 sentences and then move on to the next. So this way you'll be able to maintain that engagement. And if I come to the tech stuff, so when you see at one of the any LinkedIn post in your feed, so there is a see more option, right? You have seen that. There is one see more option. So once someone clicks on that see more option, LinkedIn counts it as an upvote. Okay, so that's a sign of engagement, that people are interested in that post. That's why they say that the first 2 lines of your post should be a hook. It's the story. So you must have seen, you must have seen most of my posts. It starts with the hook first, and
of course, it does.
And it's only a tip of the iceberg, because once you make a bold promise, you know, the expectations just heighten, and then throughout the post you have to just meet those expectations. And when you meet those expectations, not just sensational media stuff, that's how you get trending without even thinking about it. So initially you will think, you know, your core motivation will be, okay, when will that notification pop up in my feed that, okay, my post is trending, my post is trending. But since I think I have managed to trend over 25 times in 2 months, so that's no more.
That's truly awesome. You should write an article on this. Take this. Write an article, how to trend. That's gonna be that's again gonna be viral, because people do want to know about it, and it's a very important topic. Yes.
So yeah, so that is no longer the motivation factor for me. I just want to add genuine value to my target group, that is fellow writers. And since I'm also looking for a full-time opportunity right now, so yeah, I'm also getting, you know, passive leads, because on LinkedIn you will find only 2 or 3 types of people: one who is trying to build a personal brand, or someone who's looking for a job, or someone who's looking for passive leads. So the kind of post that I am creating, so I'm already building a personal brand, because mostly all writers in my network are engaging with my post, so that's one job done. And I'm also getting relevant traction from founders and CEOs of organizations. And even though I'm not looking actively for freelance work, but still I get 3 or 4 leads every single day. That Harsh, we want to work with you, and we want to work with you at your rates. So recently I wrote a post about freelancers that someone is writing for 0.09 paisa award, and like it just broke my heart. It just broke my heart. So that's why I tell everyone that I waited for 5.5 years to come on LinkedIn, because I was not aware about its potential and power. But I think if someone is looking for a job, or someone is just into 1 year or 2 years into the job, then they should be active on LinkedIn. Because even if you are going for an interview, the very first thing they check about you is a LinkedIn profile, because they want to know how active you are as a professional and what is your overall personality. Because interviews, people lie all the time. You know, they just say one thing and they don't mean that thing. And that's a sad reality that we come across. So LinkedIn profile, you know, it's like a passport for you. And you can visit any country with it. You know, you can secure any opportunity, remote opportunity in any country. Because I also get multiple offers from like remote office, freelancing offers from countries like USA, UK, and Singapore as well. And I'm not putting any active efforts for it.
So have you considered turning full-time freelancer?
No, not anytime soon, because I think that's a territory I'll take probably when I'm 40 or 42. Because I think freelancing is something I think if you have relevant work experience and you have good connections at corporates and you have healthy work connections, you can do anytime. But I think personal branding takes a lot of time, so I am just trying to build that for now. So once I do it in like 4 or 5 years, make a few good connections so that I can get, you know, stable work. Because what in freelancing, what happens is 1 month you are earning like 1 lakh a month, and the next month you are pretty broke. So I don't want to reach that kind of stage. So I think I'm happy with.
I think Meherbala is the right person for this, because she's a full-time freelancer and she's just nailing it. So you two guys should talk about it. If you want to be a freelancer in future, she's doing it for some time. She's doing it. So yeah.
So Meher, how was your experience in freelancing? I'm very keen to know this.
See, what you say is right. So freelancing does require connectivity, and I am not that much on LinkedIn. I am more on Twitter and Facebook and other stuff. To me, LinkedIn is still a social network which I'm still supposed to crack. You know, but I do get offers through in LinkedIn as well, though I'm not that active. I don't know how I'm getting it, but I'm still getting it. So freelancing, as you said, you need contacts. You need
Yes.
people to trust you, and you need people to like, okay, fine, this person work ethic is good. He delivers on time, whatever time he works, but he delivers. He should deliver. He or she should deliver. That is the key of freelancing, because people are always scared that if I give you the work, what guarantee do I get that you will fulfill in time? The key
Yes.
is deadline, to meet the deadline.
The credibility
Because
has to be there. So my full-time experience has given me that, because I have worked only for 5.5 years, and that too with good SaaS firms. So whenever I approach someone or someone approaches me, so that kinds of build an additional trust layer that this person is competent enough to meet the deadlines and also the quality that they are looking for.
right, I do agree on that. So how
So
did you do?
Fairy, I have one question for you.
Yes, two
Yeah,
questions. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Can you
So
repeat the questions once
So
again?
I think both Meher and you have worked with freelancers and writers. So I just see this as a money game for most of the freshers and college graduates. That okay, we are not getting anything. Let's just hop into writing, and we can just make some quick money. So how do you deal with how do you counsel such people that writing is not a get rich quick scheme, and it
Oh,
requires a lot of effort, and like how do you deal with people, Meher? I just want to take
okay.
your 2 cents from it,
But
seriously.
isn't that for any field? Like for web development also, like people are charging $1,000 for a website, $2,000 for an e-commerce website, and I'm like, how can you afford it? Because hosting is expensive. The work getting done on e-commerce website or getting a normal, decent, mobile-friendly website is time as well as expense. So I used to give advice, but now I have stopped giving advice because there are people out there who will give these people chance, because they're like, okay, fine, it's only $1,000 now. If it goes, it goes.
Yes.
That's the minus. That is the wrong attitude of these people. But when it comes to 20,000,
Sure.
40,000 contracts, they're like, then you start getting compared. So I'm like, work with them. I know that somewhere down the line you're not going to be happy. That is the time you come to me. And I also say I gave 15 years of experience on the table. I'm not coming with I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
For like 15 years, I need to get paid for my 15 years also. It's the credibility I owe. Yeah, Fairy, go ahead. Now
That's
up to
nice.
you.
Yeah.
So, okay, two questions. How do I deal with people who haggle? And what I do when people ask me questions on how to be a good writer? It's same. Read a lot and write. There is no secret sauce. Just read more, read what you like, and then just write. Best way is read a book that you like and write a summary. What you understood. So it's always about crystallizing information that you have and just putting it into your thoughts and words. And it's always going to be different. We can read the same book or we have same experience, you and me, and when we write, it's going to be different because that's a unique voice, that's a tone. So I always say, read and write. That's it. It's simple, right? It is simple, which is why I always say everyone can become a writer. It's when you really get into it, you get all these questions and stuff. So I don't bother a lot because I don't want to spend so much labor into telling them, "Arey, ye karo." Spoon feeding, no. I don't believe in spoon feeding. If someone really asks me more questions, I send them links, which I think if they read is going to be beneficial. And these are very long essays because I love long sentences. I love writing long sentences and I love essays. So if they really want to be a good writer, if they really want to be a writer, they have to read a lot of things. And yeah, I mean, that's it. When people haggle for different, project rates and all, I don't bother. I don't do freelancing. Actually, I've done it for 6 months. I hated it so much
We are on
that
the same page.
I wrote a blog, how to fail at freelancing or something like that, because I wrote about all the mistakes that I did. Admin work, I hated it. But again, it's about people, right? If you have good people, good clients, I think it can be very good. And again, maybe in future, but right now I think I want to go for a full-time position, because freelancing, you have to really build your personal brand,
Yes.
which Meher has done, and she should definitely do something on that. You have to build on personal brand, and she has been telling me about it since the longest time. Build your personal brand, Fairy. Build. I'm like, okay, I will do it.
So
So
one
yeah, I
more
mean, it's
point
very
to me
fun.
that I'm building my personal brand.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I'm really impressed with what you did in a way. Sure, there are some posts which I do find they are a little cliche, but I get it. It's a platform and you want to engage with people and all. It's important. Because, even what I'm posting, Meher, is almost the same, how to write, which is like fun. Okay, you're advising and trying to just play around. It's fun, which is why I would also do. But then, do I really want to be associated? No, I want challenging stuff. I want to write what I like. So I wanted to see whether it works or not, and I saw that every alternate post is trending. I mean, that's nice. I mean, people should aspire for something like that on how to crack the algorithm stuff. So yeah, so we are talking about LinkedIn only. Are you on other platforms as well?
So far
Like,
I'm only on LinkedIn, and I started on Quora, but I quickly lost motivation because my first answer when I started 4.5 years back. So my first answer received around 200 plus downvotes because that
oh
was
my god. Oh,
so yeah,
that's
that
a good
was
number. That's a good number. You should take it as a good thing because it's engagement, dude.
so that
Engagement.
was that was something about smoking that I really hate. So
Hmm.
I just wrote my heart about it, and I think most people were not in love with it, whatever I wrote about it. So yeah, 200
No,
downvotes, and I was like,
you must have got a downvote from people who smoke regularly.
yeah,
Of
yeah,
course they
exactly,
do.
yeah.
That's what. That's
So
what.
who smoke a pack every day? So
Why
I
are you
just
telling me not to smoke? Who are you to tell me not to smoke?
yeah.
Come on. Ah.
So my
So,
answer to them is I have to breathe in the same air. So you go for a plastic bag or something so that I don't have to take any piece of it.
So I have
so
a question for you.
moving on. Yes.
Hush. Sorry,
Yes.
I'm cutting.
Yeah, yeah,
I
what?
have been. I have a question for you. So I've been told
Yeah,
you write
sure.
a lot of posts on LinkedIn itself.
Yes.
You don't have a website or any blog where you put your thoughts down.
So I'm planning to start one. So,
So my
it's
question
like
is,
a,
don't you get worried that anytime LinkedIn will pull off the article, you will lose a great content, you will lose a lot of efforts which you built in one article. Don't you get a little nervous with that? Does LinkedIn do it? Does LinkedIn not do it?
so until now, I would tell you, so I haven't wrote any article on LinkedIn, on the Pulse side. I haven't contributed anything. I'm just writing posts. And you must have heard about Medium, right? So most people
Right.
are very, very much active on Medium as well, but I am not because I plan to start my own blog very soon. So it would be mostly about mental health and writing and self growth advice. So that is what I have done my entire life. So why I am not active on LinkedIn on in terms of articles and Medium is, as you told Meher, they can take down that content anytime, and all my hard work is going to just get grounded.
Right.
But if I have my own blog and my own website, so I can just run a backup plugin, and all that content will belong to me, and I can actually build a legacy out of it. If I'm posting something on LinkedIn, any article or something, it can give me engagement, but it cannot fulfill my long-term goals. So I just tell every writer that if you want to actually build a portfolio, go for your own blog. Or if you want to if you want to build a genuine portfolio, you can pick up a few answers on Quora, or pick up or write something on Medium, but don't go full throttle on it, because one algorithm and all your hard work will be gone forever. You cannot do anything about it.
That I
So
agree. That I agree.
so I'm not even planning to put anything on Pulse. So I will just go with the traditional posts, and if anything, if it's not involving too much effort, then I can probably pen down something on Pulse. But if I'm spending 10 hours researching and taking interviews and finishing up the article, then I think that deserves to go on my own personal blog only. That
Right.
because I think that's my intellectual property and no one has the right over it.
Right. Right.
That's what my
So,
thought process is.
no, it's exactly right, because in the recent time, I deal with a lot of Facebook also. So there are these home cooks, home bakers who started Facebook group and trying to sell their services through Facebook group. All of a sudden, Facebook group shut their groups, shut their page for no reason. Block their face, block their profile. You can't get access to it. So they're all contacts who are following that page. She has no contact. She has no access to that. So she has to rebuild her brand from scratch again. So that's why I asked, how does LinkedIn work? You know.
Yes. So, even on LinkedIn, if you want to start your own blog or your own YouTube channel, so I have a better approach that I have in mind. So just take it from this angle. If I'm writing any post, it's not covered in depth. I'm just, just skimming the surface. And that has become a battleground for my, I'm just testing my ideas out there. So LinkedIn is like a more of an idea testing platform that, okay, if my short post is getting, trending in 2 days and it's garnering like 9,000 visits and 100 comments or 200 comments. So if I write a blog out of it and share the same blog with different copies on LinkedIn, just imagine how magnificent the results would be. So you're
That's
already
very
getting a testing ground for your ideas. So why waste all your efforts on a platform like Quora or LinkedIn? Medium. So LinkedIn is the best platform if you are just starting out for some post or something and you want to start your own blog. So you are creating an invisible audience first, who is actually interested in what you write and what you provide. So I think there is zero chance of failing if the stuff is succeeding on LinkedIn and you create a blog out of it using those same ideas, covering them in depth and churning out 2,000 word articles or 3,000 word articles with interviews and advice and data points. I think it's just going to explode. You will be successful in record time.
that's really insightful and interesting. Yeah, I mean, most people don't really think about numbers all the time, like me. I just keep on writing because that's what I like. But that's very interesting approach, you know. So we talk about LinkedIn and how really good of a platform it is. How about what is the not so great thing about LinkedIn? I'm sure you must have experienced something that you don't like much about it. Definitely, because I do. I definitely have. So I just wanted to know, as a very strong user, as an active user, what are your pet peeves using LinkedIn platform, or what are the weakness of LinkedIn platform, or how it can improve?
So as you mentioned, most people when they approach you over messages, okay. So even if they are not sending a personalized request and they belong to my target audience, I'm still okay with it. I add them. But the thing is, they just ask questions. I want to make money as a writer. The very first question, and like they haven't written anything their entire life. I have even got messages from IIT people and IIM people who are just in college and seeing my experience and everything. They just ask me, ki Harsh, we just want to get money as a writer. We don't we just got into IIT because it was our parents dream, and I think we are like a bunch of frustrated engineers and we want to become we want to become a full-time writer. So how could we make the same amount of money as our pay packages? So that's like annoying. That's annoying because okay, you are from IIT, so I tell them you should be telling me how to do it, because if I write a book, even after having 10 years of experience, I'll have to just bust my ass to market it. But for you, you just have the IIT tag name. That so even if you come up with a shitty book, it will market itself, that because an IITian has written it.
Definitely, definitely.
So this is one pet peeve. And the second thing, when I come across posts where mostly women, it's very disheartening for me. Just one person just sends them a connection request and the next message is you are beautiful. I mean, like, is it Tinder or what?
Yeah, that happens.
So
Okay,
I think
active that
Fairy can relate better because I have
happens.
gone through multiple posts. Like I come across like 2 or 3 posts every day in my feed. So that's like
It's part
disheartening
and
and
parcel.
disgusting at the same time. Like, thanks for the connection. I work here, and the very next message, you look beautiful. You should change your DP. So I mean, like,
These are
who are
these are
you?
also these are also mostly about users as a platform usability and interface. Do you think there needs to be some change when it comes to LinkedIn?
Yes, the messaging thing, messaging, it hangs. You know,
Okay, it hangs.
when it hangs. Even if you are using the app or you are
Web,
using
app or
on the web
desktop?
platform, both.
Okay.
There is a huge latency. I think there are better platforms for messaging, even Flock or WhatsApp. So there is no latency. The messages go in real time. And on LinkedIn, you just have to, the person is just typing and typing, and you get the message after 3 minutes, and the message is thank
Yeah,
you.
that happens. I remember now. Yeah, it takes a long time. Very annoying when you're doing this with an HR person or someone you're looking for a job. And like, okay, it's taking time, and you're just sitting there. Did it go? Did it go? Mostly the problem is with LinkedIn, you have to send a link, right, after a long time. So it looks so bad. If they could actually just do that hyperlink thing, it would look better. Or else it's just an ugly looking link you're sharing as a portfolio. Secondly,
Yes.
documents. I think now they are able to send documents. It wasn't before. I remember I tried to send a document and it was terrible. So I think now they changed it.
Plus, yeah,
But
one
yeah.
thing about LinkedIn is they are a little biased. So if I want to go for a LinkedIn live, I have to take special permission for that. I cannot
Mhm.
go for a LinkedIn live without LinkedIn's permission. So I think that is a little biased. So I don't know what is the qualifying criteria for that. So they must have some relaxation that, okay, if your posts are trending, like if you have 10 posts trending in a week, then probably you can go for a LinkedIn live. But they have much stringent criteria for that, and I'm yet to decode because I posted one request and it got rejected outright. So yeah, that is one thing that is wrong with LinkedIn.
Mm.
The criteria is not clear on what basis they are allowing people to conduct a LinkedIn live, because LinkedIn live can get you crazy traction for your personal brand and everything. So I feel I have so much to share, even from my 2 months of experience, but just because they're not giving me that ticket, so I'm not able to share. So I think Fairy came to my rescue, and probably I'm speaking my heart out now.
Because you should write a post on it.
Once this goes live, I'm going to do it. I was going to
Yes,
ask you about it.
yes, yes, it definitely should. So I think, do you have any more questions? Meher, Harsh, do you guys have any more
So,
questions?
what will you give advice to a person who's coming from any field and who, like, people have, like, there are a lot of people who say writing is easy. Content writing is easy. You should get into the field. So, what advice will you give, like pluses and minuses? This question goes to both Harsh and Perry. Pluses and minuses to a new person who's stepping into content writing without knowing anything about content writing. You want
Harsh,
to go first, Perry?
okay, I'll take the lead.
Okay.
First, research, buddy. You cannot come with a blank mind. When you come that, you're waiting for people to spoon feed you, and it doesn't work like that. So if someone comes like that, I'm gonna say, go find the meaning for me, and then I'll say whether you're on right track or not. So it shouldn't be a job of a mentor, because if someone is coming to you, they want to be mentored by you. So I don't think a mentor is a that's going to be a good mentoring from my side if I give them information what is content or what is content writing right away. They need to do some kind of research. So yeah, I mean, uh, go and find what does content mean to you. Go research. Google is free. There are so many different amazing platforms, and it's free. Come on, the kind of knowledge is available right now, it's amazing. It's huge and it's mind-boggling. You get overwhelmed. So and internet is free. Go find it. Then once you have good questions, and when I say good questions, then you'll get the answers. So I think you need to research a bit on what is content, and then come back, and later there'll be more questions related to what you want. what you like, what are you good at. These are questions eventually that will come up, but first you have to find out what does content mean, what is your understanding of it, and how are you going to deliver it. So yeah, that's my answer.
So Fairy has exactly made a good point, because when someone comes to me that I want to do something in content or something like that, and what should I do? So I ask them, you tell me what should I tell you? You come up with a good question and I'll come up with a good answer, because most people they don't even Google at first place. They don't
Right.
even Google. They just want ready-made information, like spoon feeding that, okay, maybe Fairy or Harsh will do the heavy lifting and we will just get all the information for free without any hard work. Even
That's
I
it. They
have,
don't even value it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it
yeah,
really
yeah, it's
boils my
fine.
heart. When you do that, they don't even value it, which is such a shame.
So
It's
most
shame.
people
So
say, that we want to become a writer, but and I ask them, okay, go increase your exposure of content. If you don't want to, some people say we are not good at reading books. I say, okay, even if you're not good at reading books, go watch Discovery Channel, go watch
Audible,
Bloomberg,
there is Audible. There is like a
go
lot
watch
of
Audible,
yeah,
or
yeah.
just
We
go watch Al Jazeera. Watch all those news channels. Go through all the speeches of Martin Luther King. If you are not good at reading, at least be good at listening. And they say, we want to become a writer, but we cannot read and we cannot listen. Then I say, okay, then probably you have to figure out a new career, because if you cannot do any of these things, then I think only God can help you, and I think He will also
and
give up.
also I would like to add that writing is a very critical skill. It's just that we have been in the industry for a long time, but I think every professional, if they write and if they really master the note making skill, or like how did their day go, and
Have we lost
mark
Ferry?
out what did they do today that is new to remember. Hello, hello. And
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
can you hear me?
You were
So
mid
journaling is
for
Fairy
two
talking
seconds.
about.
Yeah.
Journaling is what
So
Fairy is talking about.
yes, it's very
Right? Yeah.
important skill. I think every professional should go for it, and it's very underrated skill. So I think writing as a skill is a very important one, and every professional should really dip their feet into it and should really take it a little more seriously.
And whenever and my number one piece of advice for any budding writer who is watching this, I always tell them, don't be a writer. The days are long gone. Be a storyteller. Come up with stories, because if when you write, you can probably get that joy for a day or two. But when you create stories, it connects with millions, and that's when you are a true writer and a storyteller. So creating stories is very much important. Writing won't suffice alone. That's my
Hmm.
personal experience, because if you just write one article, it will just bore to death some people, and they're not going to come back ever. But if you have a good story, a good personal story that can probably make them laugh or even cry, then they are going to come for more, definitely.
So, so,
The last
oh,
question will be, what is the success mantra in all three of our lives? What is what is the
oh.
one thing, like if you just want to succeed, if you want to become someone in the world or someone in the industry, in your industry, what is the one proverb or one sentence you believe in success?
Hmm.
Go ahead, Ash.
That's a very hard question.
Yeah. Even I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So to me,
I mean,
okay,
the basic. Hmm.
go ahead, Farish.
The basics. Try to cover your basics. Eat if you're able to eat good food, stay in a nice place, and do what you want, and your career helps you with it. Enhances that. I think that is important. All your needs are covered, all your wants are covered, and you're surrounded by, you know, friends and family, and you're able to provide for them, provide for you. I think self-sufficient and independent, and I think I'll go for basics. If your basics are covered and your wants are fulfilled, I think that is success.
For me, I think taking charge of your mental health is very important, because most people, the age of success has reduced. So most people are just
Okay.
running and running and running, chasing a particular number at a particular age. So for them, if you are successful at 22, then that's success. But if someone is successful at 35, so they don't count it success, because
That's
with all these platforms like TikTok and YouTube, so people are getting huge success. But no one sees that these people, especially on YouTube, they started when they are probably 12. That's why they are successful at 20. So I think they should strive for balance, and they should stop glorifying the number of hours they put in, because if you are sacrificing your mental health for anything, then I think you won't be in a position to enjoy that success. So for me, if you are able to take a walk in a day, you are making good money, and then you get published as a writer, then that's the true measure of success. When you get successful in all the areas of life, especially health, you know
yeah.
there has to be equilibrium. So if you are sacrificing one thing for the other, then that's not success. If you are having a balanced thing, if you are getting me time, family time, and you are successful as a writer, your mental health is in good shape, and you are making also decent money, you can travel. So I know this is very, 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 very tough to do. So that's why my single mantra is one step at a time. Don't try to do most of the things at once, because I have tried to do it when I was working with Excel Technologies, and that has blown up on my face. you know when you try to do multiple things at once, so multitasking is very much glorified in industry. So I think even a professional juggler, they start with two balls at once. If you try to juggle 5 or 6 balls in air at once, then I don't think you will be able to do that. You have to be comfortable with one or two things at once at a time only. That's when you can succeed.
That's good. That's a good advice. To me, success is when you do one thing constantly and give your 10,000%. Don't get disheartened if you don't achieve what you expect. Keep your expectations low, because when you keep your expectations low, you strive to work harder and harder and harder. And somewhere, somehow, the universe will give you back your success at the right time, at the right moment, when you don't even think about it. So keep working hard, do your 100%. That's what success means to me. Because as a developer, as a person who had medical issues, and I have also started a lot of verticals. To do one thing constantly and to get success is very difficult. But you do get it. You do get recognition and success when you don't even realize.
I agree. I think Meher is a tech enthusiast. So if I would have met her 5 years back, she would have retained me. I won't be, having this interview right now, because I would have never made it as a writer. She would have
No,
convinced me, oh, go managing servers, back to you. What the hell are you doing?
not, no, no. I don't convince people to go back to what they don't like. Do what you like. Because when you are in a field where we don't like doing something, your productivity will go to zero.
Exactly. That's
Even if
what
you,
everyone needs to hear.
yes, your product, like, do what you like. Like, a lot of times Terry has told me, write, write. And I'm like, it's not my cup of tea. That's why, when the word writing comes, when the word blogging comes, to me, it is like a blank page. Now, what do I do? But when it comes to photography, or when it comes to promotions, or when it comes to servers, or when it comes to websites, I kind of know the answer. And even if I don't know the answer, I know questions where I can get the answer from the other person. So, yeah.
Okay, man, FYI, I was managing VMware and SCCM servers in HCL Technologies.
Wow. I need to
So
consult you
many,
now.
so many techies are writers now.
And so many non-techies are still techies people. Don't worry.
I want to share one thing. So whenever I tell someone, even during a full-time interview or in my jobs, that I was a techie before I took up writing, I get a strange sense of respect around.
Why?
I
Like,
mean,
why is that? I don't know. Even I have no idea. But this is something that has happened for 5.5 years now. So
Right.
it's a good conversation starter for any interview. Oh, you were an engineer before, yeah. So that kind of picks up the entire conversation. So things go in favor for me. People intrigued to know what made me, skip an on-site opportunity to UK, leave a tech job for something as cliche in India as writing. So
Yeah.
that's a good conversation starter.
So like before this conversation, when you told me you were an engineer, even I was surprised from an engineer to content writer. So to me, content writer is not a cliche, but it's like, yeah, in the Indian society, people think engineer is top class, you know. So it was like, wow, you actually took the leap. Like there are a lot of people who get scared to take the leap, you know. So you, as a person who actually took the leap and was happy, you're happy with doing content writing.
And now
You're
I'm
happy,
happy.
yeah, because you know that you've broken the industry, you've broken your way into the industry, so you really know how to work around it. So unless and until you don't break into the industry, you're still struggling. That's why you think that shouldn't I be in engineering back, or is content writing clear? But as I said before also, you need to work hard in one thing and then only you will achieve success.
Yes. So this has been my one thing for like 5.5 years now.
That's good. That's good.
all right.
So we'll wrap up the
So-
interview.
Yes.
Any last minute
Thank
thoughts?
you. Yes.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you for being a part of Unplugged
My pleasure.
Tech as the very first episode, first interview person. Thank you for giving your time. Thank you, Ferry, for pushing us to do this.
So do I get a bonus for the first episode? Any kind of goodie waiting for me?
When we start getting
Let's get
sponsors.
sponsors.
Yes, when we start getting
yes. Once we
sponsors,
start
maybe.
Yeah, that would be good. I really appreciate that.
It would be nice. It would be really nice too. All right. Thank you. Thank you for doing this.
Thank
It
you.
was
Thank
really
you.
nice. I've been really excited since yesterday. I've been thinking about, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Okay,
I didn't sleep last night. What
Oh.
more I can say?
Like, since yesterday, I've been thinking about it. Like, okay, it's happened. It's nice. As the first episode, I was like very anxious and see how it is, but it went really good. I'm happy. It's
Even
nice.
I'm happy now. See,
Uh-huh.
hearing that it went good from you people, now I'm relieved. I was a little tense before this entire call because I'm not very much comfortable in front of the camera, as I was discussing with Ferry.
I keep telling everyone that all writers and everyone should be comfortable in front of camera, because even I haven't been, and this is one of the ways that we can face the camera. So yeah.
I think I'm actually getting good in front of the camera.
That's
So yeah,
good.
it's actually a good thing.
All right. So let's wrap up. It was wonderful to have
Thank
all
you.
of you here. Yes, thank you.
May I please stay in touch? It was nice talking to
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Great interaction.
Nice talking to you too.